Marathon, the newest extraction shooter addition to the long lineup of extraction shooters made by Bungie, and this game is an acid trip. I mean, just look at these bugs. What is going on? I got a little bit of time to play Marathon between my wife totaling her car and setting up my new PC. If you need a new PC, Stints Built is the place to go. Use code DDG when you check out. The first time I played it, this game gave me a headache. All the colors, the flashing lights, the weird menus and such. It gave me such a headache that I had to stop. I tried it again and gave it some time. And I gotta say, the gunplay in this is not bad. It's a Bungie game, so of course the gunplay is gonna be pretty good. I think this is one of these games where gameplay over graphics is going to be a big part of it. I've always been one to play games that look terrible as long as the gameplay is pretty good. Majority of people are not like that though, and that's the biggest problem with Marathon. The bigger problem though is the UI. It is probably one of the worst I've ever seen in a game. Navigating anywhere in the menus is a horrible experience. Trying to figure out where you're going, what you're doing, and how to get to your loadout was a miserable experience. And even in game, trying to figure out like what items are what you need to pick up, it was difficult and confusing. I don't know if I need this stuff, but I'm just gonna grab it anyways. Who cares? But the gameplay itself is not bad. I think it has a nice little niche here. The AI enemies are difficult. They are pretty smart and require a lot of teamwork, or, you know, avoiding them if you're solo. And by the way, the solo experience was not a bad one. I actually was queued with solos, which is great. And that's the biggest problem with extraction games at the moment, is I usually play solo, and here I am fighting 3, 4, 5 different guys at the same time with better gear and getting shit on. Most casual players are going to play solo. So the fact that you get in solo and play with solos is a big plus. Also, the unlocks seem to be something that is interesting. There seems to be a very good progression system with Marathon, that as you get these contracts done, as you level up, as you upgrade, you unlock cooler and cooler things. Like there's even one little shell that allows you to have a drone that steals loot. There's just cool little upgrades that you can unlock. So the progression that is in Marathon seems to be worth your time and your effort, and as you play along and as you get better, your shell will get better, your experience will get better, the gameplay and how you play the game will change. I did get very limited time with this game due to my crazy weekend, but as I played more of the game, I did enjoy the gameplay more and more. And I found myself, especially solo, using the assassin because of the insta-stealth ability and being able to get out of situations where the enemy AI are all over my ass, or there's enemy players in the area. I can smoke, run away, I could hide. It was more of a solo play style, and that's where I kind of found myself gravitating towards. You also have the Rook, which is like your scav run almost, which has the ability to kind of like blend in. You get your kind of gear, you go in, and you get out, and you kind of can use it to loot farm. The other biggest issue I saw with it was the economy. You always needed more ammo than you were given. You get free kits that you have a free kit that you're available to use any shell that you want, besides using just the Rook to go and get stuff. But the free kits come with such limited ammo that you maybe get one fight out of it. And then suddenly you're trying to find more and more ammo. And then when you're gearing up, everything is expensive. All of your meds, all of the ammo, everything that you need to buy is so expensive that you're trying to get more and more loot out just to be able to afford another kit. This is also one of the first extraction shooters, I think, that I've seen that doesn't have a secure container. So when you die, you lose everything. There's not like some consolation prize that you're coming out with to help you buy a new kit. So you're basically just constantly dipping into the money if you're having majority of deaths. Constantly dipping in your money, trying to afford new kits, taking out these sponsored kits, taking out the Rook, and struggling to keep your inventory full, or ammo or meds or anything like that. It also has the problem where you have multiple different groups that give you multiple different reps and contracts. The problem is the contracts are kind of like your quests. You can only do one contract at a time. So you can't just go into a mission and have 3 quests you could do. You can only focus solely on one, until it's done, which makes the progression and the grind a little slow. There's also like some confusing ones where I had to go in and do something where I had to turn in some item into a decon unit. And, you know, I would pick up the items, I would get out of the mission, and it wouldn't count. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And then I had to do some Googling on my phone to find out that there's unmarked boxes in the map that I can drop gear into that it'll count for the contract. And it was not clearly, you know, explained in the contract at all. So it was kind of confusing. And, you know, I had to figure it out myself and do some external Googling. So a lot of the contracts aren't very clear. And some of them, you know, you have to do your own digging to figure out how to get them done. I think Marathon has its challenges upon release. I think a lot of people are having a hard time with the look of the game. When I first saw the game, I immediately was turned off because of the graphics, the art style, everything like that. You know, it just immediately kind of was like, you know, I don't know about this. And, you know, it took me a while to stomach up and play it. And even getting into the game, it took a while before it kind of started to hook me a little bit to where I was like, okay, this is something I could play and maybe get past the graphics. So it has that already disadvantage of just looking unappealing to the masses. And then the new player experience when you get in with the UI, the clutter, trying to figure out what you're doing, how the game plays. You know, it's going to turn people off pretty quickly within that 2-hour refund window. So there are a lot of challenges for Marathon itself upon launch. And, you know, maybe the server slam might have helped because people got a chance to get that out of the way. But, you know, if anybody didn't get to play the server slam, then, you know, now they suddenly walk into a game where they're like, what the hell is this? Like, trying to figure out, like, what to do. How do I do anything? Where do I go? And the looks of it are kind of weird. I think the gameplay, though, is interesting, and the progression is kind of interesting. You know, the deeper I dug into what you could unlock and the progression and the upgrades, the more I kind of got intrigued of like, okay, this could be interesting. You know, we didn't get enough time to really get there, but it could be very interesting. You know, the gameplay itself is not bad. The way you extract, the being in the missions, the sounds, the gunplay, it's all great. It's just that art style and the confusing UI and the economy. I think they have some work to do to fix, you know, they're not going to be able to fix the art style. We know this. But the UI, the economy, a few things like that, I think if they do some little bit of fixing, they'll get the gameplay sorted, but then they have to get everybody over the art style. So I don't know where Marathon's going to land for everybody. I'm definitely going to try it out because I do want to see more of that progression and unlock more of the stuff and see how the gameplay changes. But overall, I think the art style is going to be the biggest hurdle for Marathon. But let me know what you guys think about Marathon down in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.